What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin Cash today. Shout out to the Dragon Riders in the House of the Dragon. Hit that like button, subscribe, and thank you all for being here. It is the 13th day of March, Friday the 13th, and here we are, up 2.5% on the day. Was it my last Bitcoin Cash video or the one before where we were saying that Ethereum looks like it's going to outpace Bitcoin Cash here over the coming days? That was a good little call. I didn't sell all my Bitcoin Cash for Ethereum on that note, but maybe we should make some trades based off that, because this BCH Ethereum chart, it's actually been very consistent, and it's likely coming to the end of its trend. But I mean, you look at this weekly time frame, just look at this, right? It's been very, very consistent. Clearly, we're at a high point here. This doesn't mean Bitcoin Cash is going to drop in value. This just means that it's going to lose value versus Ethereum, which if they're both moving up, Ethereum likely outpaces it. That's all. They can both move up. Bitcoin Cash can move up 50%. Ethereum can move up 70%, or Bitcoin Cash moves up 10%. And then Ethereum moves up 20%. Whatever. Anyways, something to just kind of note. I mean, it's a very perfect channel, and it's probably a chart that most people don't look at. Anyways, Bitcoin Cash. Looking at this here. Bitcoin is certainly at a point where I think it's going to top off, and we could go a little bit higher. I wouldn't be surprised if we did see prices a little bit higher than this high, but it's very completely possible that's a top off point. And Bitcoin Cash as well is finding resistance here at a prior area of resistance. However, we do have this overall high heel pattern going on, this nice Adam and Eve double bottom structure, and I do believe that this will allow us to continue to grow, not just on the daily time frame, but even on the 4-hour time frame here. If we look at this, it's a little bit more obvious. We've got this, we've also got this kind of double bottom here. It would be like an Eve and Eve pattern, a very soft curve here and a very soft curve there. We call it the sack of truth and prosperity. Looking at this here on the 1-hour time frame, we are struggling. And we tried here. There wasn't a whole lot of volume that came in. We tried here to move higher. Not a lot of volume came in. In fact, all the volume that came in did come to the downside. But for all that volume coming in, we really didn't move anywhere. All we got was a higher low. So I don't think that this is a bearish signal, no more than it is a bullish signal. We're still just consolidating in this range here, right, with slightly higher lows and, if anything, a flat top. So we could be in this range and maybe inevitably break down, maybe inevitably break up. Even if we break down, we can still find a higher low here, relatively speaking, and then continue to move higher, right? Like here, we had a little consolidation phase. We broke down, but we still inevitably moved higher. Looking at this with our indicators, handy dandy indicators, we've got higher lows here, higher lows right there, lower lows in the RSI. That's hidden bullish divergence is what that is. Overall, we've got this nice kind of trend here on the 1 hour. It's a very consistent, methodical, tenacious trend that just keeps holding up, which is nice. We can go a little bit lower. It doesn't have to be here that we bounce, but this is a good area. We've cooled off on the RSI, and we're overall in a very bullish posturing. So I think that there's going to be some excitement here, maybe today, if not over the weekend. Certainly, I think next week could be really good for Bitcoin Cash and various other altcoins as well. I say other altcoins. Bitcoin Cash is not an altcoin. Bitcoin Cash is probably the only crypto that rightfully should not be called an altcoin, except for stable coins. Genuinely, like I don't think any other coin earns the right of being called of not being called an altcoin other than Bitcoin Cash and BTC. If we're looking at this though, the stochastics did reject the overbought zone. That's never a good thing. It's on the 1 hour time frame though, so it's not that big of a deal. MACD crossing red. We're at points where we could bounce, on the stochastics at the 50, on the RSI at this trend line and at the 50 there, and the MACD with this false cross. I mean, it's a good place to bounce. And, people are just waking up. I like to put myself in this thought. This is something for anybody who's like new, something to consider if you're watching the charts like a hawk. Like if this is your bread and butter, this is your morning cup of coffee is looking at the charts. Think about this, right? If you live in the Western Hemisphere, like right around now, right around this period of time, every single day, this is when people are waking up. So what they're waking up to is, wow, the price is up. But they're also waking up to this quick little flash dump here. So they're thinking, oh, the price is up. Now we're dumping. Clearly we're going to go lower, right? And this is all psychological warfare. So in my perspective, and I could be wrong, I'm imagining most people are waking up and they're like, wow, the price is up. That's so good. Oh, it's dumping back down. Not this again. We know what's happening next. It's charging your mentality, your emotions to think that, okay, we had our run. Now it's time to go down. Because that's exactly what we've been doing for the past month and a half, right? I think that we have a little bit more to go. And then this will ultimately be the trap of your psychology, right? Just as you're giving up on this run, it'll cause you to FOMO. Wow, it really is breaking out. We're getting above this high back here. We really are breaking out. And right there, that's whenever the real dump will happen. That's whenever it'll happen. It'll probably be swift, and it'll happen over the next, I think, week. Bitcoin Cash might get tossed up in that a little bit, but there's also a scenario here where on this next rally up, we break through this point, we could really send our price all the way up to this 500 and 520 area. Again, this on the 4-hour time frame, this is a W structure. And the W cuts loose once we get above the focal point, the nipple right there, that central little point right there. And typically in a W pattern, typically, not always, but typically, this part of the pattern moves faster than this part of the pattern. So we move down pretty fast here. I would think that we move up even faster. So, I mean, it could be, guys, by the end of today that we're back above $500, which sounds crazy. It could be by the end of today. We got like 9 hours left in the day. It really could be by the end of today. If not, maybe over the weekend even. But I am anxious. Is that the word? Anticipating some kind of movement like that to happen soon. If it doesn't happen here, we can reject. We can come down. And maybe over the weekend, that's exactly what we do. We just consolidate more. And then next week we try. Whatever. Something like that, form this kind of relative ascending triangle here. However it looks, it doesn't have to happen now. And we can even afford to come down a little bit. And it still doesn't have to happen here. But we are very close. We are definitely very, very close. 4-hour RSI getting overbought consistently. Nice to see here. We've got these higher lows over here. Again, we can come down and still look good, bouncing off the 50. We can see a little bit of a pullback. That doesn't mean that we will. I'm just saying we could. If we did, it wouldn't be a big deal. Stochastics, it's like you want to get overbought, but you're just not doing it. But this is not a bearish look, that's for sure, on the stochastics. I want to try and see if we can find a moment where it was like this before. I'm not really seeing anything like this. Hold on real quick, guys. Where did I put? I don't know where I put that dang thing. That's okay. We don't have to worry about it. That's fine. I don't need to find something that looks exactly like this. Hold on. I'm gonna fix something real quick. I got Frozen 2 on in the living room here for my oldest, and it was getting a little bit loud. Elsa's letting loose the goose there. She's singing her high octaves. Anyways, looking at this here with the stochastics, bullish. Looking at the RSI, bullish. Looking at the MACD, bullish. It's all bullish. Why is it bullish here on the MACD? We rejected the 0. That's not bullish. But it is bullish because the rejection wasn't a rejection at all. It was a false rejection that led to a breakout, inevitably. We even here died off in bullish momentum and now are building bullish momentum. So it's actually a good look. It really does look good. And I think that we could see these oscillators come up a lot higher. Once these histograms get to these kind of levels here, that's whenever we might find a little bit of resistance and sell off. You know what I mean? That's kind of the idea there. So I do think that there's more left in this. Whether that more comes today, whether it comes over the weekend, or whether we kind of chill and then it comes sometime next week, I do think that we're going to move up higher. And I think that the next appropriate target to consider right now is something between about like maybe $500 at a minimum. If this W pattern plays out, then maybe something as high as like 530 or even 550, which that's completely acceptable and a very possible viable target that we could see as well. I don't think I have anything else that I want to say. I mean, let's just see. Looking at the daily time frame, the RSI is really starting to shape up. Don't mess with these double bottoms, man. You got a W pattern on the RSI too, right here, man. Don't mess with this. We could be sending it all the way up to the overbought zone. We have not seen Bitcoin Cash in the overbought zone, guys, since July of 2025. So we might be overdue for that. We've got a nice little downtrend here. Best case or worst case scenario, we find some resistance here, and we come back down. Best case scenario, we break out of that downtrend and we're sending it to the overbought zone. And there really does lie a chance there where not only do we go to $500 to $550, but that we go all the way up to something around $700 or more. and we could be in a much more grandiose kind of W pattern. So that's that's what I'll leave you with. I don't really have anything else to say. The stochastics look good. This is exactly what I was wanting to avoid, though, was the blue line getting too separated from the orange line. It is the weekend, so a little bit of consolidation might allow the orange line to catch up to the blue line, and then we could definitely continue to move over the next week once we get into the overbought zone. I don't assume that we're just going to come up here and then come down like this. I would assume that we get some consistent readings, something like this, and that should promote growth between now and the end of the month as well, not just next week. The MACD, that is what it is. It's not the best looking MACD, but we're building bullish momentum. That's nice. I don't think there's really anything else to say. So I'll just leave it at that. Take care, everybody. Hit that like button, subscribe. Oh, this is one thing I was looking at. It's not that big of a deal. It's kind of not the ideal structure, but still. Anytime that we see a solid body down and a doji candle, and then if we get a solid body up, that's typically a bullish reversal signal. Typically. Not always, but typically. And here I wouldn't say that we have too much of a solid body up. But we do have 2 days and 9 hours left in this week. Anything can happen. I'll see you on the next one. For real this time, I'm out. We'll ride at dawn, Dragon Riders. Peace.